Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre. This is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and shit.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is We'll do it live! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000! My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there.
Don't face me, bro! It's a trap! I'm a firing believer! Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up! Oh, God, oh, man!
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd to Know Basis Show, airing on Phoenix 92.5 FM and all those other wonderful places on the internet, such as Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and of course our own website. I'm Cian, and with me this week is Darragh. Ahoy hoy.
Hoi hoi, how are you?
I'm ahoy good. I'm glad you're here because I am too busy with kids to go see a Star Wars movie. So I am dying to hear about that later in the show, as well as I know we've got the Backrooms lined up and Spider-Noir and that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, we're going to have to kick off this show, recording this on Friday the 5th of June. And literally just minutes before we recorded, we got news of some sad departures who cast a big shadow over the world of nerdy things. Darragh, why don't you start us off with that?
Yeah, so Giles is dead. That sucks. So if anyone doesn't know, Anthony Stewart Head, best known for playing Rupert Giles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Prime Minister in Little Britain. Apparently he was in Ted Lasso, but I haven't seen a lot of Ted Lasso. But yeah, I mean that just sucks. Bad news. Yeah,
it is really, really sad. I will admit that I came to Buffy quite late. I missed it growing up. But as you say, I do remember him being a striking presence in Little Britain and like popping all over the place, like in Doctor Who, and being a big presence in Merlin and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, he was in Merlin.
And and even recently, like as a recurring role in like Motherland, which is a great show that everyone should check out on Netflix. Like he's one of those like actors who, like, now I'm projecting onto this a little bit, but he's one of those actors you don't really see anymore who was already quite grounded by the time they got discovered, if you know what I mean. And every time that like you saw him on screen or on stage or film, whatever, like it was like really, really, like he's a fantastic performer, but also he brings a lot of warmth to everything he's in, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah,
I think like even though the show's aged like milk to the point that the creators have disowned it, that was why he was so funny in Little Britain. Like he was the only real kind of funny part of that show, in my opinion. But at the same time, I always really enjoyed when he was there because he just brought this presence to any role, like as you said, where it was like grounded, but also like not like you felt like you knew him, you know. And I think that was like his biggest appeal when you were watching Buffy. You know, as crazy as Buffy can actually be, he would carry it, particularly in some of the lower points of the show. Last season, first season, you know, middle of it. Like I was a big Buffy fan growing up. I can't really watch it now as an adult. I can't watch most of it now as an adult. Because a lot of it just doesn't land the same. I think Angel does, but when Buffy does hit, it hits phenomenally well. And he was a huge part of it. Like genuinely, without having Giles as the character, I don't think a lot of that show would have had the impact or staying power that it does actually still have. And people discover it all the time now as well. So, I mean, his legacy is going to live on forever. But what's sad about this is not only that he passed, but in the past year and a half, it's the third major Buffy cast member that has died. We've lost Giles now, Dawn, obviously, and then, Xander. Everyone hates Xander.
Yes, that's right.
Everyone hates Xander, but still, it was.
Get the Xander hate. Maybe he's gonna come to it late, but sure, how and ever.
Yeah, there's a couple of good videos on it. Actually, I'll send you one later. It's basically like it basically boils down to Xander is the self-insert of Joss Whedon, and without going too much into the Joss Whedon thing, you guys can do it on your own time. There's a lot of controversy there, a lot of stuff that has happened and has come out about him, particularly behavior on set. And if you look at the character as Xander, he really is like his self-insert, and he's a very, very unlikable character in loads of ways. So yeah, definitely there is a really good video on it. I will try to link it and put it in the description below. But yeah, like Xander's always, long-term Buffy fans, even before the Joss Whedon thing, always got the ick from Xander. And that's kind of true, but still doesn't take away from the fact that it's very sad that he's dead. And it's also, Dawn obviously was devastating because she was so young. And now, with the passing of Anthony Stewart Head, it is just like, whoa, you know, we were supposed to have a Buffy reboot. I think there's a whole thing on why that didn't happen, out there, but we were supposed to actually get that reboot. The pilot series was shot. And, Michelle Gellar came out and was like, look, it's just not going to happen. So, you know, not the Buffy news that we wanted, but unfortunately the Buffy news that we got, and it's sad all around.
It is really sad. Yeah. Do you actually know how Anthony Head got famous originally?
I do not.
He was in a really iconic 80s Nescafe ad.
I did notice. Yes, I did notice.
Yeah. Oh, you did? Okay.
I did notice. Yeah.
So when he was on Buffy, like, people were kind of like, oh, you're that bloke. Like, you know.
Nescafe man.
Like he was sort of a face before people knew him as like a kind of an actor's actor. Like, you know.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna miss seeing him around the place. Like, I mean, like, he was great squaring off against David Tennant way back when that show just started. Like popping up in like Jonathan Creek. Like, you know, he's one of those actors where it's kind of like, if he turns up in it, it's a vote of confidence that it's going to be something a bit special. Like, he's even popped up in like Sweeney Todd for like one line. Mm-hmm. And that's something else I liked about him, because like, as serious as an actor he was, he did seem to do some projects just because they seemed fun, or like he'd take a small role because it seemed like it'd be fun, like that kind of stuff. Like, did some Batman stuff for that reason, like, you know. And yeah, it's just kind of mad to think that he won't be a continuing presence on television, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's one of those big things that you don't expect. And even in our own chat there, Katie was just like, no. And I think that's the response to everybody. Everyone was just like, man, this is a bummer, you know, and it really is.
Yeah. There's not many like uncomplicatedly very nice, famous people anymore. And he was definitely one of those.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of those things where, you know, there's no social media controversy. There's no staying on his legacy. As I said, like, Little Britain would be there, to be fair, but he never really did anything that was that bad on it.
But that's like, yeah, but Little Britain is like of its time. It's not something, exactly, it wasn't bad in it. Like, I still think back on some of the, but again, kind of the Little Britain one's a good example, because like, Lucas and Williams are like doing their like big broad comedy thing. And even though the premise of it is the Prime Minister's aide is desperately in love with him in a gay way, he never plays the joke.
No.
And that's what makes it funny.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like you said, he takes it seriously. Even right up to the very last sketch, when like it turns out he was like secretly gay the whole time. Mm-hmm. Like, he still plays it like straight as an arrow.
Yeah.
But then in like Merlin and Doctor Who, he's able to like kind of camp it up a little bit very fluidly. He's like a very, very versatile performer. Like,
no, absolutely. As I said, he's one of those generational talents that was appreciated in its time, and just because of the roles that he took, everybody knows who he is. You know, if you're in Nerdom at all, like, a lot of people are sad now because Giles is dead, and that's just one role, you know, that's going to live on forever. So it's a sad time for sure. Definitely one of the good ones, but that's the sad part about doing this job, right?
You know, apparently he was in your Highlander series as well.
He was. Yep, he was.
Yeah,
that's a great series. If anyone hasn't, no, seriously,
I mean, pop it up in things because they look fun.
Actually, this reminds me of, I can't remember his name right now, but the guy who was the voice of the professor in Powerpuff Girls died a couple of weeks ago. And I cannot remember his name now at all. You can look it up. But basically, the guy who played the professor in Powerpuff Girls, he was in everything, right? I just was like, oh, that's kind of sad, you know, Powerpuff Girls is a good show. But if you're a Star Wars fan, he was in all the Clone Wars. He was the voice of Yoda. He was the voice of Admiral Akbar. He was the voice of loads of little random characters. But also, if you go
to, is it?
Yes, that's exactly who it is. But if you're a connoisseur of Disney parks and Star Wars, he's the voice of like a lot of characters that pop up in Star Tours, which is incredible. But not only that, if you've been to Disney World, he's the voice of the monorail. So when you're on the monorail, he welcomes you to it, tells you about what's going on in the park, Disney's nature reserve and stuff. So his death got more and more sad the more I realized how influential he was on my childhood. It was just like, oh, man, that one really sucks. And again, like, look, him and Anthony Stewart Head here, they looked fine up until about 10 years ago, and they start aging and getting sick and stuff like that. So it's just sad, man. It's just one of those things. But that's why when our body of work is looked at very much, like, I think these two are very comparable. It will stand for itself, and people will miss them because they are kind of titans in their own field. One in voice acting, and obviously one in acting. So definitely a really sad bit of news to come through. But yeah, hopefully they rest in peace, the two of them.
Well, can I also add like one more in memoriam before we move on to go to the big title films and all that kind of stuff? So yesterday, kind of in a similar vein, author Marjane Satrapi passed away too, who now, while not strictly in the nerdy space, is the illustrator and author of Persepolis, which was a groundbreaking like series of comics that got collected into a book about the life of a young girl growing up in Iran in the 80s, in the 90s, going through the regime changes as a child, and then living in Paris as a teenager, and then coming back to a much more, like, for lack of a better word, religiously conservative Iran as an adult. And if you've never read it, it's an amazing read. But I came to it through the film adaptation that came out about 20 years ago, which streamlines quite a lot of it and is incredibly effective. And like, even just holding the book in my hand, like all the reviews, like comments are from like, Art Spiegelman and like Alan Moore and all these people, like, so she was incredibly high regarded in the space, even though she's not like a sci-fi person. And like, this is a book I read once a year, and like, I think it just becomes more and more relevant with time. Like, did you know that God is a character in this?
Yeah, makes sense. It's a book about theocracy. Of course, God's going to be a.
Oh, there you go. Exactly. But it's got that To Kill a Mockingbird quality, where the first stretch of it, because it's from a child's point of view, everything is explained in very kind of simple, like childlike analogies. Mm-hmm. And a huge part of it is basically not only the relationship with her grandmother, but like basically God being a person she imagines she talks to. And then the more and more of her relatives that are like killed by the oppressive regimes, she eventually just like kicks God out of her life. So like, it's harrowing, but it's also got a dark sense of humor to it. So to anyone, like, I'm pretty sure it's on the like, either Leaving Cert or Comparative or something like that. I've definitely seen it in schools. But if you haven't seen the film or read the book, this is the kind of thing that you can always find in libraries. And similar to what you're saying there about Anthony Stewart Head, like my social feeds and all that were just full of outpourings for the fact that she'd passed away. So if you haven't read Persepolis, now's the chance to read it. It's stunning, and I think she will be missed.
Yeah, look, I've never read it. It's like the way I'm aware of it. I've read Mouse. I don't particularly want to bum myself out like that. So
it's very comparable to Mouse, where it's like
I'm aware.
I'm aware of it, but a dark topic with a sense of humor to it. Like,
yeah. No, as I said, it's one of those things. I think Mouse is on the Leaving Cert as well, and I'm just like, nah.
Is it good? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's been on there for a while.
Well, it wasn't when I did it. I would have. No, I read it as as a kid.
No, that was like 20 years ago. Not to age yourselves too much, but yeah, I mean, that would have been great having comics in the Leaving Cert when we were doing it. But no, I mean, look, it's one of the things where there are these big pieces of narrative fiction or true life put through fiction. Or even recontextualization is probably a better word. So like Mouse obviously recontextualized the Holocaust through mouse and cats, and then this as well, I believe, is done in a very similar way. But yeah, look, I'll be honest with you, I have to be in a mood to read something like that. Definitely like a big titan of the industry. But it's like the way I haven't read Mouse. Persepolis is just like, that looks like it's going to be a bummer.
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point. To anyone who hasn't read this, or since you mentioned it, Mouse, don't be put off by the subject matter. Yes, it will go to dark places, but in both the case of Persepolis and Mouse, you latch on to the characters. You latch on to the conceit that this is this real woman's lived story, and you latch on to the fact that, like in Mouse, it's the main author's relationship to his dad.
Yes.
There will be arduous bits of it, but don't go into it with this mindset that it's going to be a very bleak experience. It's
Really?
also in its own strange ways uplifting, you know?
Really? Okay.
Like you come away learning things and sort of considering new perspectives. And while there are harrowing bits, there's also like love and humor in there.
Okay.
So don't be put off by the fact that it's that. It's like they're both brilliant books.
Okay, well, look, as I said, they've been on my list for a while. It's just, I was kind of waiting to be in the right headspace, but if it is handled that way, I think that's a really cool selling point, you know, where it isn't just black and white kind of thing. Because I mean, even when you're dealing with stuff like that, obviously it's not going to be a barrel of laughs, you know. But I remember playing.
Oh yeah,
you know,
okay.
I remember playing Wolfenstein: A New Order, and obviously that's based, and there is the Holocaust scene when you're in a death camp. As good as that game is, I was still like, man, I'm not okay with this for a while. It kind of sits with you for a couple of days, you know. And when comics has that approach as well, it is like it's something about the medium. Well, obviously, when you're reading it, it has the same effect. But when you see it on page, I think you have to kind of be prepped for it. So absolutely, I'll have to check it out now because in fact that she has passed.
I'll tell you what. Can I make one more selling point to you on
absolutely.
Persepolis at least?
Yeah, go on.
A huge moment in her life is now that she's still kind of a kid going on a teenager. Is that because of the most recent regime change? I think there's like 2 regime changes over the course of the book, or maybe one that then goes more extreme. But basically, a big turning point in her life is this like underground market of bootleggers start turning up on the street, and they're not selling anything like illegal in our sense.
Mm-hmm.
What they're selling is cassette tapes.
Right.
Cassette tapes of like Western music that are barred, and her first cassette tape she gets, I can't remember, I'm trying to find the chapter now, but basically she gets like Iron Maiden, exactly. And that's her big coming of age moment, is illegally sneaking out, getting an Iron Maiden poster, getting an Iron Maiden tape, and every time people aren't looking, she just jumps up and down on the bed and jams with a mop as an electric guitar.
Huh.
So, like, just because it's like a big, heavy, like, thing, there are still these, like, really kind of poignant moments that kind of grab you and kind of feel incredibly relatable. Like,
that's great. Yeah, that's really good. As I said, it's one that's been on my list for a while, but if there is like those flourishes of humor, yeah, I think that's definitely something to read, all right, for sure. Makes it more human, you know, makes it more narratively accessible, you know, because that's what you want. But yeah, definitely look. There's even though it's sad, there's some good news in it now. So hopefully you folks go out and check all those books out and maybe watch Buffy, because Buffy's a good time. Watch Angel too.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. Like, you know, we're talking about like Tom Kane. Like, you know, it's the bittersweet thing about someone passing away is it just reminds you of how extensive their legacy is and their body of work is. And sorry, my son's just walking. And it's a great opportunity to go and discover, even after the fact, maybe a work you haven't checked out or something you'd forgotten you really loved. So always look at the kind of the bright spark in these little things.
And
like,
look, that's a very poignant point, because again, even though I had been exposed to Tom Kane's work my entire life, I wasn't aware it was him. I just knew him as the professor from Powerpuff Girls. And it wasn't until he passed where I was like, oh my God, he's like next to probably Mark Hamill, one of the most recognizable, and actually Sam Whitaker, the guy who plays pretty much everything. Whitworth, there you go. The guy who plays Maul and everything else. He's probably the most famous voice actor from Star Wars. And you know, people knew, obviously, but it wasn't like he wasn't front and center. So at least now he's getting his flowers.
Well, that is the sort of tragic thing about good voice acting. If you're really good at it, no one knows you're doing it. Yeah.
But, you know, to tack on, though, before we move on, when these people do die, they do tend to get their flowers. So, you know, it as I said, there is a speckle of light in the sad news for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, let's move from all of this kind of quite solemn stuff into something quite goofy and popcorny. I am dying to hear about both the Badlands and the Mandalorian and Grogu. Which one do you want to take on first?
You mean the Backrooms?
Sorry.
Okay, let's
Okay,
let's talk about Star Wars, and I will keep it brief. I laugh as I say it because I cannot keep it brief. Right, so Mandalorian and Grogu, we did a preview of this like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I pretty much said
we kind of speculated on it.
Yeah. And look, I'll be honest with you, right? I went to go see this opening day, and then I saw it again during the week or last weekend. And look, it's exactly what I thought it would be. It's exactly what I thought it would be. There is absolutely no reason for this to exist, genuinely, as a movie. And look, but I just want to set it up front, right? There's no reason for this to exist as a movie. It's not a movie. It's basically Mandalorian season 4 compressed into like 2 hours. But it's wild, all the hate that it's getting online. People are like, oh, it's terrible. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's not. It is the single best thing that Disney Star Wars have done since Rogue One. It's one of only a Andor is obviously separate. I've been watching Andor, and while I disagree with a lot of Andor, it's still a phenomenal piece of fiction. But yeah, like as I said, if you're going in and just put on technical merit, The Mandalorian and Grogu is just inoffensive. It's fine. It's very good at some moments. It's kind of silly at other moments. But when I was watching it, I actually found myself enjoying it. I didn't hate watching it. I wasn't sitting there going, oh, this is terrible. It's like, no, this is actually great. And what's cool about it is it actually has, a lot of, grit to it, because it allows you to enjoy a part of Star Wars which you normally don't get to. Very much like Andor. Andor is a very adult political thriller about the rise of the Empire and how bad that is and all that kind of stuff. But this is more kind of like, well, they're going off and doing side missions, and then you have to go from here to here to here. And it's pretty cool. Like, it is. I do enjoy the world building. It has a lot of that Attack of the Clones kind of thing where it takes you to different parts of the universe. Its biggest selling point for me is that they don't go near Tatooine at all. They just avoid Tatooine. It's like, do not go near that planet. If we never see that planet again, you know what? Not a bad thing. The fact that they don't go near a desert planet at all is its biggest selling point. I just cannot look at that planet anymore.
Okay, but I want to back up a little bit though, because you mentioned like all the kind of side quests and stuff. So does this movie like have a beginning, middle, and end, or is it like just 3 episodes slammed together? Like,
Yes.
do you know what I mean? Is there like an arc that kind of takes you through it? Like,
Yes and no, right? Yes and no. It does and it doesn't. So it opens up with him basically being John Wick, right? And going in. No, genuinely, right? It's him going back, and you actually get to see him as a real force. Because it's been a while since we've seen the Mandalorian be anything other than Grogu's dad. So he shows up and he kills a bunch of Imperials and then kills an Imperial warlord, and it's a whole thing. And it's a pretty good action scene, to be fair. But then what happens is, after that, he gets sent off on another side quest, and then he gets hurt, and then Grogu goes off on a side quest, and then he comes back, and then the movie kind of ends. So it does have a beginning, middle, and an end. However,
that doesn't really sound like a beginning, middle, and end. That sounds
exactly.
That sounds more like Kinds of Kindness, where it's 3 random stories that are tangentially linked.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It kind of does have a beginning, middle, and end, but it also
no. But that's not a beginning, middle, and end. That's 3 different things that happen in an order. That's not the same thing.
No, and this is what I'm saying to you. That's why it's not a movie. It's just 4 episodes of The Mandalorian condensed down and put in a structure that kind of simulates a beginning, a middle, and an end. But it's not a very satisfying movie in that sense. There's no reason to watch it, but there's no reason for it to exist. And here's the thing: outside of The Mandalorian getting a new Razor's Crest, nothing really has moved forward here. There's no, like, if they were to go, okay, what are The Mandalorian and Grogu doing now? Oh, he's in a Razor Crest. Okay, cool. That's about it. That's the only tangible thing that moves on from here. As I said to you, when this goes on Disney Plus, I think people will be like, it's fine. If it had been a series, it would have been like, it's fine. But the bigger issue of this is, one, I don't think people, like, both screenings for this I was at were, like, I was there opening day in the IMAX, and I was there with 2 people, right? No, literally, there were 2 people in the screen. And then I went to go see it again after like a week or so, and it was an IMAX screening. It was one of the recliner ones in Odeon, and that was much more full. Like, it was about 70% full. So it's not like doing bad, but the movie we'll talk about next has kind of wiped it out completely. Obsession has wiped it out completely. And just stuff that I think lands more with like younger people and with like, yeah, pretty much with younger people from like Zoomers all the way up. Star Wars just doesn't have this connection. You know, like families were going to the screening I was at, but also like it was like people our age. And it's bad news for Star Wars because it's just like there isn't that connection that's there. You know, the Backrooms, which we'll talk about in a second, a complete different story. But look, Disney really needs to sort this out. Like, I don't really see the point of putting this in theaters. Now, here's what they should have done. If they had been like, okay, it's a special event where we're going to put 4 episodes in a 4-hour like screening event in the cinema for 2 weeks, I think that would have been received better. But
yeah, like anime, like Demon Slayer,
like they do with anime.
Yeah.
I was literally about to say
you get a month's advance on what's going to come out on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka and Mando are going to go do a thing from one of the forgotten Star Wars books.
Exactly.
And if you go see it, you get spoilers. Yeah, something like that. Like,
and I think that would have been received a hell of a lot better than this, because by cutting it down, they give you the worst of both. You don't get a full movie because it's not a movie, but you don't get the full episode. You don't get the time for all this stuff to breathe. It's kind of like, we go here, then we go here, and then we do this, and then we go here, and it's just like, oh, nothing was achieved here, right? Like, basically the premise is that Mando and Grogu are working for the New Republic, but they have to go work for the Hutts. It's about, well, I was working out the math, I think it's like 10 years after Return of the Jedi, and the Hutts are related to Jabba the Hutt, but obviously it's not Jabba, and they want to get Ronto. Remember Ronto was in Clone Wars?
Yeah, the baby kind of Jabba the Hutt thing.
Jabba the Hutt's son, yeah. And he's off as a pit fighter in...
making his second appearance in a movie that should have been TV episodes.
Exactly. Well, look who made it, right? This is Dave Filoni being Dave Filoni. And I don't hate Dave Filoni at all. I think he was a good choice, but he needs to control the fact that he really, really likes the characters he came up with and just putting them into stuff and putting himself in it. It's like, come on, man.
I'll be honest, that Hush was the only thing that was going to convince me to go. Because like, oh, that's a new concept. I like new.
Yeah, no, look, and you know what? He's one of the best parts of the movie, or of this, whatever you want to call it. And basically he's a pit fighter, and then they break out, and then they have to go back, and then the Hutts take revenge on Mando. And there's more Clone Wars characters in it, and then eventually it ends up with them doing a full-on assault on the planet in Nahuda, right?
Yeah.
And again, look, there's a lot there that I like. A lot of Clone Wars stuff, huge droid armies. The droids look great, like the battle droids and stuff. I really, really enjoy that. Again, the opening sequence is super good. I didn't hate this at all. I'd watch this. If this is what Star Wars is now, I'd be very happy with that. Just do this all the time, right? But that's me. No, genuinely, that's me, right? I mean, and there are people like me who would really enjoy this. But
okay,
but hold on, but there is an important caveat on this. You're not going to make new fans. You're just not. Like, there's too much homework. They don't give you like a rundown of who these characters are. They just show up. Like, if you did not watch Mandalorian and Grogu, there's nothing really there for you. If you haven't watched the Clone Wars, there's nothing really there for you. There was a girl with her boyfriend, and she left the theater 7 times because she just did not care at all what was going on.
Well, to be fair, that's a normal thing when you're in front of a TV show.
No, I know. What I'm saying to you is just like, they didn't even...
But that's what I mean. This is a TV show.
Yeah,
so
but they didn't even try to hook her in. You know, there was no like, there was a bit of a crawl, but it wasn't. It was like a text or whatever. And it was just like,
yeah,
that's not enough. You need to introduce who these characters are. You need to actually have an arc. And again, like the Mandalorian and Grogu ended up in the exact same position starting the movie as they did ending the movie. And I hate that because it's like everything that happened here was a complete waste of time. Literally nothing has changed except for you got the Razor Crest back. And, you know, again, I'm not mad at this. I'm not disappointed at it. It's just like, oh, it's fine. But Fine isn't a successful movie. Fine isn't going to make $1 billion. And Fine isn't going to make new fans. It's just going to let it limp along, and that's it. And I mean, it's so easy to fix Star Wars, but this is not how you do it. However, that being said, and we'll move on now in a second, it's, if they do this, if they do this, and it is just a small little adventure before they do something bigger and wipe the universe or whatever, fine. I mean, it's just playing for time. Maybe that's what they were doing. I will say it's a fun little adventure. It's completely safe, but it genuinely probably wasn't the right thing to launch in a movie setting, particularly a big IMAX screen or something like that. I agree with you, Cian. I think if he had to just said, look, we're going to drop this on Disney Plus in about a month. If you come and see it, it's a 4-hour thing. We'll do up posters. We'll do the big launch. treat it like one of those big anime screenings that are always full, I think it would have been received an awful lot better. But pushing it as a big theatrical event when it's not, very disingenuous.
Well, this is it, because like one of my sort of go-to things is the Jenny Nicholson video on the Star Wars hotel, which I know we've talked about Galaxy's Edge to death and all that kind of stuff here, but she basically concludes the long thing with it being charging this much for an experience, $6,000-$7,000 for a weekend, whatever, is Disney cashing in their years of goodwill and people getting burned by it. Do you think this, even though like it's not necessarily hated, this film, do you think that this Mandalorian and Grogu thing is Star Wars cashing in its goodwill for money now, but perhaps diminishing returns later?
No, they did that years ago. Like somehow Palpatine returned was them doing that.
I know, but we've had a sort of a resurgence since the Mandalorian started.
No, the Acolyte was that, man. I mean, like there's so much goofy nonsense that Disney Star Wars has done that they need to do a hell of a lot more than rely on Grogu and the Mandalorian. And I'll be honest with you, I'm very sick of Pedro Pascal. Like I really just don't want to see his face. The worst part of the movie is when he took his helmet off. And I was like, just go away, please. You're very annoying. Just go away.
I like him. I've still got a soft spot for him.
He's in way too much. And I just, no, I'm done with him. I really am.
I'm always happy to see him, and he always puts in a good performance and puts in the effort. Many famous people don't even rise to that level.
In this, he didn't. Like, he apparently...
that doesn't surprise me.
His stunt double was doing everything. And then and he sounded incredibly bored every time. Now, I know that's the character, but it's just like... No, like the sad part about this is that Disney have ruined The Mandalorian and Grogu. Not because it was bad, not because they did anything wrong. They just played it way too safe. If they had had The Mandalorian just show up and being like, look, we're checking in and seeing what they're doing, what are they getting up to? I think that would have been a lot cooler. You know, they're off doing a mission and it's just about them doing a mission, right? That would have been fine. But because they have built in, it needs to link up with the New Republic, and then we need to go here, we need to do this. It's like, just stop. You know, they went too safe, but didn't go safe enough, if that makes sense. And then they went too big, but not big enough. And it's this weird middle point. But no, I agree. I think on the Galaxy's Edge kind of side of things, a lot of it is like pretty much if you watch the movie show or whatever it is, and pretty much everything they do, you can do in Galaxy's Edge. And you know what would have been a better swing? This shows you how weird Disney's synergy marketing is and how off-base they actually are. Why didn't they make the movie set in Batuu? They didn't even go there.
That'd be an obvious open goal.
Right?
Yeah.
The net is completely empty. They have everything built. Why didn't you just set the movie there? Like, I don't understand it. It's like they go to random planets, some of which you know, some of which you don't know. They've renamed a bunch of the planets. It's like, okay, great. You could, like, there's a base. There's literally like a base, New Republic base that they go to. Why wasn't that just Batuu? You could have just had the exact same things, just call it Batuu. I don't understand why they can't get out of their own way. And that's the most frustrating thing about Disney Star Wars. They do something really good or they do something okay and then don't capitalize on it. Like the Disney hotel thing, the Star Wars hotel in Disney World, like that was also a great idea. They charged ridiculous amounts of money and didn't team it correctly. Now they're starting to fix the theme parks, but they have a movie coming out, and instead of being like, hey, you know what, we could actually get people, because that's one of the biggest complaints about Batuu, right? Like, oh, we don't know what that is, we've never seen it, we've never interacted with it. It's like, you could just have Mandalorian and Grogu there. They're there in the theme park anyway, you know? Anyway, look, if Disney are listening to this, do something in Batuu. I know there's books, but no one's read those except for me. Like, realistically, do something based on Batuu. I don't know why you haven't. Like, do a TV show or a movie or, you know, this would have been a perfect time to do it. It's so silly. I don't understand it. Complete open net.
Well, I'm going to have to interrupt you because we're actually starting to run a little bit tight on time.
Yes, we are.
Now, I've been following box office numbers to a certain degree, and I believe that this film, despite being much, much cheaper than The Mandalorian, is actually doing a lot better than it at the box office. I believe...
I was shocked by this.
I got the name of this wrong. Why did you correct me? Because I haven't seen it yet.
So I was shocked by this, and I want to get your thoughts on Spider-Noir in a second because I really want to see it. But, okay, so the Backrooms. I've been following this for a while. Obviously, look, I'm familiar with the creepypasta and the liminal space kind of thing, and as of that, and there's some great games like Liminal and stuff. Like, I'm very familiar with it, but I was not prepared for what I saw in the cinema, and not the movie. The movie's pretty good, to be fair. People hate it and are saying it's terrible. I have no idea what I watched. Right? I was going, what is this movie? I really like it. It's just really weird and kind of strange. I'm a big fan of the SCP Foundation. You know, that Secure, Contain, Protect. You know that creepypasta?
Yeah, some of the teenagers each have shown me those, yeah.
Yeah, they're really good. And the reason why apparently they can't make a movie out of that is because it's all, like, they'd have to find a way to give rights to everybody who wrote it because it's a community kind of thing. But, like, these internet-based stories haven't traditionally translated well to the big screen. And it's not because they're bad, it's because they're too late. You know, Five Nights at Freddy's, the second one actually is really good. But a little bit too late. Slender Man, years too late, and also terrible. But this is one of the first times that it's hit at the right time. The fans are there. And I was in a theater and it was absolutely packed with not just like adults, but like teenagers, younger kids there with their parents. People wanted to see this. And the box office numbers are showing this. Like this was up there with Minecraft, I think, where it's just like there was this attachment to it, very much in a different way to Mandalorian Grogu, where that attachment isn't there. Like we haven't accounted for, and I think Hollywood is starting to account for the fact that there are these kids who the internet is their life, and they've grown up with these things, and these things can be marketed and sold to. And now they're starting to do it. It's also a YouTuber made this movie as well. I believe it was his kind of
not just a YouTuber, but a YouTuber who's made loads and loads and loads of Backrooms shorts from a very young age.
It's his kind of thing, right? But again, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. It's a very, very weird movie. It doesn't really have a beginning, middle, and an end. It doesn't really spoon feed you a lot of things. The cast is kind of stilted, but
I'm fine for that with Chiwetel Ejiofor in it. Like he's a standout actor. Like
but the actor can be good as he wants, but the script is terrible. You can only do what they're doing, you know.
Is the script terrible?
I don't think the script. It doesn't feel human, but I think that's the point of it. You know, like there's a lot of therapy scenes where he's in there, he got a divorce from his wife and he can't get over it. And he's a good actor, and there's bits where he drops in and out, but it just doesn't feel like a human wrote this, you know? But I think that when the movie goes super weird, that goes in its favor, right? So I think it was a stylistic choice, but when you're watching it just as a movie, you're like, this is very, very strange, and it's very, very weird. And it does come across these, with these internet movies where they haven't kind of figured out how to present them in a human way. But then again, look, George Lucas did it, so it doesn't really matter. You know, you kind of get over it really, really quick. But at the same time, there is that detachment from it where you're like, right, these aren't real people. This is obviously a movie. So it never sucked me in. But the weirdness of it makes up for it, if that makes sense. So while it has a lot of weaknesses, and it is kind of a weak movie, the stylistic approach on it, the weird practical effects, there's no CGI done in this apparently. It was all just in camera, which is very, very cool. The ending, pretty good. But like when I walked out of this, I really just felt mad.
Well, tell you what, back up a bit because you haven't really set up the story. Or anything like that. Give me the rundown.
So basically, there is a divorced man who works in a furniture shop, and the lights keep going out, and the power is being sucked like from something, and they don't really know what's sucking all the power. So he brings in an electrician. Electrician's like, "What's this connected to?" And then they flick it or whatever, and then he finds a portal to the back rooms, and he doesn't know what it is. So instead of like not going in there again, he recruits his direct reports to go in with him, and he goes missing. And then his therapist has to go in and find him, and then she finds him, and he's gone kind of insane. And that's basically what it is. But that's kind of, as I said to you, it's very, very thin. But what's cool about this is the overlayer. So obviously the back rooms they don't really tell you what it is, but it's been monitored by like this government or intergovernmental department, where at the end of the movie she gets kind of interrogated, not like torture or anything like that, but she's like, "Hey, look, we don't know what this is. We're still trying to look into it. What did you see?" And that's really cool because it sets up there's going to be more sequels to this. So this is going to be a franchise. But yeah, like I can't really go into it without giving too many spoilers, but it is a very, very interesting movie. I'd say if you haven't seen it, definitely do go see it. Catch a matinee. And if you're listening to this and have kids, they already know what this is. So take them, they'll have a good time. It's not exceptionally violent. Like there's a little bit of violence in it, but it's just weird for the sake of weird, but it works. And when I was walking out of this, I'm like, man, I'd really, really like an SCP show, because if they like, if they can figure that out with rights, great. Because they kind of prove that it can be done. And I think we're at this interesting point where we grew up with the internet, but we remember a time before the internet. So, you know, we still have attachment to Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, blah, 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 blah. This is for the kids who grew up with this, where this is what they know. This is their Star Wars. This is their Star Trek. This is their Doctor Who. And I think this is the first time that a movie made from this material kind of stands for itself. The Minecraft movie, obviously it was incredibly successful, and I was debating that, but that was garbage. That was a trash fire movie. I hate that movie more than I can imagine. But this movie, however, very, very good. Like, genuinely, I'd watch it again. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. And I hope they do make more. Hopefully the script's a little bit better, but I think the concept itself, because it's so unique and the way it's done and it's so earnest, because it is made by someone who, it is, you know what it is? It's made by somebody who actually gets the material. Someone who knows how to connect with the audience.
Well, this is what I was going to ask about, because the Slender Man one was a very, like, by the numbers
studio movie. Yeah, it was
had the Slender Man name slapped on the title.
Yeah.
I think Until Dawn was another one of those.
No.
Yeah.
So Until Dawn, that should have been called anything else, and people would have been really successful.
But this is what I mean, though, and so like between this obsession and Iron Lung, it feels like YouTube filmmakers is now something to actually watch and give creative leeway to. Not just cash in on the name and make a bog standard thing by Hollywood standard.
It depends. I mean, there was Shelby Oaks with Chris Stuckman's movie. I'd be very careful, and in the AVGN movie, I would be very, very careful giving YouTubers.
AVGN movie is like almost like 2 decades. That's more in line with like the Fred movie. I'm talking this year.
Yeah, well, okay, Shelby Oaks was last year, and Shelby Oaks was made by Chris Stuckman, and it is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
We covered that, but
Yeah.
but even if you count that one as a flop, it still means that like creative YouTubers moving into the film space in a creative way might be something to watch for the future. That's all.
Definitely. No, look, it makes sense, right? If I would say, rather than giving them a blanket free pass, because I don't think Markiplier did the Iron Lung, right? I haven't seen that movie. I didn't really hear good things about it, but I would say
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Really? Okay. Well, I haven't seen it. I will watch it and let you know. But what I was going to say, I think if the big thing there with Obsession and this movie, it's by guys who know the craft of filmmaking, right? They have a vision and they want to kind of do it, and they've done years of practicing by making YouTube videos, right? I think that's the ones who are the guys to watch, compared to Stuckman or even Markiplier, where it's like, well, they don't really make content in that way, you know, they're reviewers or they're, you know, streamers or something like that, and they might get lucky or whatever, but it's more just, I think it's a safer bet to go with guys. Right, look, if you've made this, it's like the way they used to, you know what it is, they used to do this with music video guys, where you'd have like really, really successful music video directors, and they
in
would
the
get,
90s,
and they would get tapped for
all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, and they would get tapped for bigger projects. I think YouTube is that now, where look, people are still making music videos, of course, but I think like these smaller creators have a channel, they've been making content for years, and I think if that content stands for itself and it has a unique voice and vision, absolutely tap them. That's where you're going. I think that's what Hollywood's starting to do. I would just be more cautious going, you have a YouTube channel, awesome, go, here's $2 million, go make your movie, and it's absolute wreck. Because I think we have to be careful that we don't create, you know, that kind of boom bust mentality, because it's much more sustainable to have like a filter where you're like, right, what have you done? What do you want to do? And it's very, very simple, I think, to tap something like the Backrooms, where you have the creator, you cut him in, you give him a real budget, and you let him tell a story. And that's what they've done. And it's massively successful. The warning with this is Slender Man, where they paid Lieutenant Surge his money and then made garbage. It just flopped. Everybody knew that movie was not good even before it came out. The Backrooms, however, sucked everybody in immediately. So definitely a huge good watch. I would say definitely, if you haven't, go see it. It's worth your time. And I'm looking forward to seeing it again on streaming. But we have about 11 minutes, well, 6 minutes. Tell me about Spider-Man Noir.
We don't really have time for an in-depth review, annoyingly, but I want to kind of pick up from last week, which is that I've seen the whole thing now. And yeah, what is there to say? It's amazing. I watched it in the whole thing in black and white, and some of the highlights in color. And it's just a great, great show. The characters are really, really good. I was expecting them to kind of cheap out by having very little Spider-Man activity in the series. No, we get a lot of swinging, a lot of fight action sequences. Nicolas Cage is great. The mystery is great. All the kind of ensemble cast are all working together. Brendan Gleeson knocks it out of the park as the villain Silvermane. And to be honest, it kind of made me realize that because Spider-Man's main domain has been film, that really Spider-Man was always meant to be in a serialized form. And it's amazing that we don't get him on television more often, because it's great seeing him solve mysteries and having characters what are ostensibly Electro and Sandman and the other types of characters like Tombstone popping in and out of it for little bits. And yeah, I would highly recommend this. It's really, really engaging. It's got the noir kind of Sin City vibe to it a bit, but it's not a very bleak show. I said it last week, it rides that line really nicely where it's got the atmosphere, but it's not joyless and it's not campy either. It's straight in the middle and it's really well judged. The opening song is great too. Saving Grace, I believe it's called. And I would recommend this. I've been recommending this to everyone all week because I actually made the choice to kind of watch it slowly because I was really, really savoring it. And all the cast are great. It's really well judged. And, it's funny. You would think that a sort of 1930s Detective Spider-Man would be something too goofy to translate. But, a bit like we were saying about Anthony Head back in the start of it, because they all commit to it and take it as seriously as they can without it being joyless, it feels like it leaps off the screen. I would recommend this to anyone. I think it's the strongest live action Marvel type TV thing we've had in a long, long time. And I hope the other people making these are taking notes because it's 8 episodes. The story begins, middles, and ends. It doesn't waste your time. There's no filler. It's a very lean show that keeps impressing you the further in you go. And I'm still a bit struck by it. I think it's fantastic. I actually hope they don't do more because this season is really, really strong. And I honestly don't know what to say. It's just fantastic.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know if you've played the Xbox 360 game Shattered Dimensions.
I didn't know.
You should. Everyone should. It's one of the best Spider-Man bits of media, right? And that's actually when I was introduced to Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Man Noir. I didn't know about them beforehand. And I think Spider-Man has this and look, we've obviously seen it with Into the Spider-Verse and all that kind of stuff. Spider-Man is beyond Peter Parker, but Peter Parker is still Spider-Man. But what you can do around that is, okay, he's Spider-Man, fine. But what about in another universe? What about with this? What about that? And it allows you explore in ways that I don't think has really been done in movies yet. It probably will be eventually with Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales and stuff. But with TV, it's kind of a blank check, right? You can have a different Spider-Man show forever and never repeat yourself. And also, I think starting off with Spider-Noir is genius because, look, it's Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is going to commit fully no matter what he does. But also, it is a very, very different approach. It's Ben Reilly, right? It's not even Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I kind of, because I've been having the same thoughts, because we only got 2 minutes. Can I make my pitch for what I would love them to do in a perfect world next?
Go on, tell me.
All right, my son's just walked in again. Now, I wouldn't mind another season of this as long as it's not just sort of rinse and repeat, as long as they have a good story.
Yeah.
But if they weren't doing it, here's what I would do. I would either get the other character, Peter Porker from the original kind of multiverse one.
Right.
And I would get him to do 5 or 6 shorts in different classic animation styles, maybe the Rubber Hose 1920s, the kind of the more World War II 40s Looney Tunes type thing. There's kind of fun to be had there. Or I would, again, kind of keying into what people like now, commit to the bit and do a full anime show with that. I don't know the name of the character off the top of my head. Is it Penny Parker? Yeah. Who has because I think anime is still one of the biggest things in Western markets at the moment. I think they'd be crazy to leave that alone. But one thing I want to stress before we run out of time on this is this show isn't good because it's a Spider-Man show. It's good because they treat it seriously enough to treat it with respect, if you get me.
Mm-hmm.
It's this is probably one of the, like you said, it's one of the smartest ones to adapt. but it was also one of the hardest because like Spider-Man isn't fun when he's on his kind of grim, moody type thing. But they made this work, and the characters they did use, like they did bring in from the comics, were very smart choices because there was a little, like, people know who Sandman is, but like they might not know who like Cat Hardy, i.e., Black Cat from the comics, or Silvermane are. So it was a very smart mix of well-known characters and characters you didn't know, which meant that you knew they were kind of taking the source material seriously, but not so seriously that it was dry. Do you get me? I'd recommend this to anyone, even if you weren't a Spider-Man fan. And that kind of gets around what you said about the Mandalorian and Grogu. Yeah. This is a show I think anyone can enjoy.
And that's what you need. And I think that's kind of the approach that you should do with this material. That's not exactly like the sacred timeline kind of thing, or even with Star Wars where it's not like the Skywalker thing. You have a blank check to go wherever you want to go, and you're limited by your creativity. And by playing it safe, you end up with absolute slop that nobody wants, or garbage that's just, like popcorn, right? It's fine. You just eat it and that's it, right? You go home and have dinner. Something like this, way more substantial, way more meaty. It sticks with you. You're like, okay, that was actually really cool. And you didn't waste your time. I think there is still a market for, oh, it's on, I'll go see it, I have nothing else to do, or, oh, we'll stick it on, sure, why not? There's definitely a market for that. But if you want to actually make an impact, you have to take risks. You have to be a bit more brave. That's why Into the Spider-Verse worked. It introduced a whole new bunch of people to Miles Morales who probably never knew who he was. And again, we have 2099 as a result of that. Spider-Gwen as a result of that. Well, who owned this? I know Sony obviously own it, but like it was through Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime could literally have this show, not Spider-Noir, but different Spider-Man on TV and Spider-Women on TV for the next 10 years. And it could always be something different. And I'd actually really like that, because it's like what we said about Star Wars Visions, where by it being something different, by giving people a different chance at it and adapting a different Spider person, it opens up worlds of opportunities that we will not see in a movie because they haven't proved it to be viable yet. The cool thing about something like this is now we know Spider-Noir is viable and could actually open up something on the big screen. But then again, that would open up another kettle of fish. Would that be as good as an 8-part series? Probably not.
No, and you actually kind of teed me up there. I know we're a bit over time.
Okay.
But two things about this, which is I'm really glad they dropped all eight episodes at once. I think if I had to stick with this over 6 weeks, it might not have endeared to me as much. Between that and the Burrows, I hope that model comes back. Because I think there's something to be said for making a really huge impression that lasts over 2 or 3 weeks, and the diminishing return speculation thing that Disney Plus tends to do.
Yeah.
I think if anyone's taken note, that'll be the way to go for me. And also, it's mad that like there was this whole Spider-Man, Sinister Six, Madam Web cinematic universe kind of being kicked about for years and years. And the second they give up, they do this Spider-Man noir thing, and everyone loves it. And it's like, well, you could have been doing this the whole time. It's because there are ways to do Spider-Man. Like,
it's because it's earnest. That's the difference. It's what we were saying about the Backrooms. It's not cynical. They're not like, hey, let's just make money. They're like, no, let's tell this cool story. And you know what's great about telling a cool story? It makes money. People want to see more of the story. At some point that was lost by Disney in particular, but not just Disney. So look, it's great to see. I totally forgot about it, so I'm actually queuing it up right now so I can watch it. So I would say, hey, everybody go and watch Spider-Noir and the Backrooms. Yeah, I mean, there you go. That's your weekend. Yeah. That's your weekend.
I would suggest the black and white, by the way. Either looks good because the color isn't just like black color. It actually kind of looks like punched up, like kind of television. Like, I'm trying to remember the exact term for it, but like it kind of looks like punched up color, like when you watch Singing in the Rain.
Technicolor.
Technicolor. Thank you. So the color one is still very good. For my money, I would take a chance on the black and white one first, and it shows you how to swap it anytime you like. So. Yeah. Don't be intimidated by the black and white. That's all I'd say.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I'm out there pulling it up now, and you can just swap back and forward right there. Like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, why don't you wrap us out there?
We have hit time, folks. Thank you so much for checking us out. If this is your first time listening to the show, what are you doing? Go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com or find us on YouTube, Nerd to Know Media. You'll find us there. Please subscribe. You get content a lot more. There's been a bit of a hold on it because I had to sort out something with our third party distributors, but that has all been resolved. So we'll have more content there now, dropping shorts and all that kind of stuff. But also, you can actually interact with us directly there. You can comment below any of our clips and we'll read them out. So if this is your first time checking us out, as I said, go over there, give us a share, tell people about the show. Thank you so much to Phoenix for the opportunity to keep doing this show, and we appreciate and love every single one of you.
That's very sweet. Well, we'll be back with more pop culture kind of hot takes and all that kind of stuff, but until then, I've been Cian,
Cian and Darragh,
and Kev's been somewhere, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Alright, so you're listening to the podcast, you're like, hey, I'm not in Ireland, how do I get in touch? Well, TuneIn has you covered. That's how you can check us out live when we're on the radio. You go to TuneIn and download the app, or you can check out the live streams on nerdtoknowmedia.com or Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you want to get in contact with us, it's very easy. Nerd to Know Media everywhere. Nerd to Know Media on Twitter, Nerd to Know Media Instagram, Nerd to Know Media on Twitch, Nerd to Know Media at gmail.com if you want to reach out via email. Hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.